Well, we're going to talk a bit more about Trump's foreign policy plans now with Donald Green, a professor of political science at Columbia University. Donald, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us very early this morning on this inauguration day. Donald Trump, as we were just saying there with Doug, has promised a series of executive orders in his first day of office, many of them undoing the legacy of Joe Biden. How many of these executive orders might have to do with foreign policy?
I think it's unclear. And of course, the president's latitude for discretion is very wide in the area of foreign policy. But I expect over the next few days, certainly, for us to reverse course on Ukraine in particular, because I think that the Trump vision for foreign policy is to isolate and ally with their opponents. One of his complaints about Joe Biden is that he precipitated an alliance between China and Russia by defending Ukraine vigorously.
Just stay with Ukraine for a moment, because it seems like Donald Trump has backed off some of his earlier comments that he would end the war in Ukraine immediately after taking office. Now he says within 6 months, dragging it out. I mean, what can Trump do really to end this war in Ukraine, and how?
Well, I think that the moment he signals that he will withdraw the money and the materiel for the Ukraine defense, it forces Ukraine to go to the negotiating table, which they have not shown any interest in doing. And so if he withdraws the support now, of course, that emboldens the Russians. If he can drag it out over several months, then he could perhaps precipitate a peace agreement.
We've just heard from the French Prime Minister, François Bayrou, who said that Europe could be, quote, crushed if it does nothing against Donald Trump. Do you think that that's going overboard?
I think that there is a chance that Trump will want to pull the United States out of NATO, or at least threaten to do so. And of course, that puts Europe on a very different military footing.
What about what some might call some of Trump's more outlandish claims? For example, he made waves not long ago about comments about wanting to acquire Greenland for the U.S. How worrying is that really for Denmark or for the EU in general?
I think that Trump these days has shown an interest in William McKinley. He's shown an interest in the kind of Gilded era of the 1890s and early 20th century. He seems to enjoy tapping into this age-old American kind of manifest destiny view about American expansion. And so whether that's real or just bluster, it does certainly distract attention away from the very real changes that are about to come to pass with his executive order. So I think that it's a way of signaling his imagination to a certain style of American politics.
Now, another big foreign policy issue for many Americans, even though they might not realize it, is TikTok. Of course, the U.S. has said that its owner, the Chinese company ByteDance, must sell TikTok or face a ban in the U.S., and this because of a risk of Americans' data perhaps being misused. Now, Trump has turned that around. He's given TikTok a lifeline, saying at his rally last night, quote, "We have to save TikTok." The head of TikTok's even set to attend Trump's inauguration today. I mean, what do you think about all of that?
I think it shows one of the features of Donald Trump as a person and a leader, and that is his insistence on gainsaying and contradicting what his political opponents would prefer. So if the Biden administration swings against TikTok, he's going to slow things down and say no, no, no. Even though you would think that his bellicose anti-China stance, which will probably result in a surge of tariffs, would signal his dislike of TikTok.
Indeed. And it is really interesting because, for example, Trump is threatening these tariffs, as you mentioned. He also invited the Chinese president to attend his inauguration. So quite a few mixed messages there. Just before you go, Donald, how quickly could Trump put all of these executive orders into place? And how far do they go? How much leeway does he have as president?
I would say that he could put them into play very quickly, even this week. And I think that we're all sort of holding our breath, wondering what exactly the executive orders will contain. He does not necessarily have to rely on executive orders entirely, because, of course, he controls Congress as well. But his style has been to have some, media splash immediately, because he feels as though this is his chance for gaining momentum. So I expect quite a surge of executive orders this week, and they will be on broad-ranging topics.
Donald, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today there from Washington. Donald Green.